All right, the Na'vi were way more advanced before having to reset their entire civilization because they were gonna die out if they didn't. Now let's get into this theory, because it's gonna be a good one. What if the Na'vi aren't primitive at all? Is my thing. What if everything we see in Avatar, right? The bows, the tribes, the connection to nature isn't the beginning of a civilization, but what's left after the end of one? Because once you start looking even more closer than we already are, Pandora doesn't feel undeveloped, right? It feels intentionally simplified. Because you got to keep in mind, everything they use and talk about, like, it's all manual things, but with the concept of people who have had complex tools, you know? Because on the surface, Avatar is about humans invading a peaceful alien world, right? With technology versus nature, the progress versus tradition, all those type of, ideologies. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it? What if the Na'vi didn't lack technology? What if they abandoned it? So it's like they overstood technology versus misunderstanding it, right? Because let's not forget, Pandora isn't just a jungle. Pandora is almost too perfect, actually. It's a system, right? Everything is connected, and literally at that, the trees, the animals, the Na'vi, even through Eywa, it's like Eywa is a network. That line is huge. A planet-wide neural network, that's just even crazy to wrap your mind around, but it's not primitive. The concept, that's beyond anything humans have built. Now, Eywa, the big tree that pretty much knows everything's linked to everybody. It's like a biological internet, in other words. Eywa functions like a database, right? Memory stores, there's consciousness transferring, and then there's communication across species. And they even say the wealth of this world isn't in the ground, it's all around us. The Na'vi don't mine resources because they've already plugged into something more valuable, and that's information. This isn't a lack of tech, it's tech evolved past machines. Think about that. And again, that ties back into what I was saying earlier about the fact that they have something that's manual, I guess you could say primitive now, like a tree, but how it's being used is complex, like that of a database or computer, you know what I'm saying? It's things like that. So it's like for them to have that and for it to be where it is now, it takes trial and error, which takes time and understanding, which means it had to have been in their past, I guess you could say, which means it evolved. So they overstood it. They overstood technology. And it's like, why don't they have it now? But we'll get into that for sure. Now let's talk about the braid connection. It's pretty much like a cue, It's not just spiritual. Again, it's an interface. They connect to animals, they control them, they synchronize with them. That's not a ritual, It's more like biological engineering. And again, engineering, keyword there, which means at some point, something or someone designed the system in some way. But where are the ruins? That's the weird part. If the Na'vi were always this way, where's the progression? Because there's no early tools, there's no transition phase, there's no ruins, there's no abandoned structures, it's like nothing. And this was a big thing I was thinking about when I was getting this theory together. It's like their entire civilization exists on a final stable state, not evolving, not advancing, just maintained and very well. So let's talk about it, the missing ruins, because here's something that should bother you. The Na'vi have existed for thousands, maybe even millions of years. Where is everything? No crumbling cities, no abandoned structures, no ancient tools buried in the ground, no bodies, anything, nothing. Because in any real civilization, especially one with intelligence, language, and culture, you always find remnants, right? Even humans, after just a few thousand years, they have left behind entire lost cities, but on Pandora, it's like the past has been erased. And that doesn't happen naturally. Like they say, all energy is only borrowed. And one day, you have to give it back. That line hits very different, but way different here. Because what if the Na'vi didn't just return energy? What if they returned everything, right? No waste, no leftovers, no scars on the planet. Not because they built anything, but because they made sure nothing would remain, which leads to a much darker possibility. They didn't just abandon their old world, they deleted it. So if they deleted it, returned it, abandoned it, whatever the case, where did it go is the question, right? Where did it all go? Because matter doesn't just disappear, even on Pandora. Here's the unsettling answer. They didn't hide their ruins. They recycled them back into the planet itself. Think about Eywa. Energy is only borrowed, right? That's not just spiritual. It's like a rule of the system. Eywa isn't just a network. It's a closed loop ecosystem. Nothing is wasted. Everything is broken down, repurposed, and reabsorbed, which means if the Na'vi had cities, machines, and structures, they wouldn't leave them behind like humans do. We got to stop comparing all of these advanced smart worlds to our dumb slow world. They would feed them back into Eywa, atom by atom, turning metal into minerals, structures into soil, technology into living systems, not destruction, just conversion. And that explains why Pandora feels untouched. It's not untouched. It's been perfectly cleaned. So the forest you see, massive trees, the glowing ground, the neural connections might not just be nature, right? They might be the final form of everything that came before, which means the ruins aren't gone. You're just standing on them. They do the one thing humans don't know how to do. Take something that was once bad, reuse it and leverage it and make it better. Well, humans do that, but just not for the better. So they'll leverage someone that's bad for political gain, but it's never big picture, help everybody type shit. We all know that. So that explains the where, the how, and the why there are no ruins. So boom. If you like what you're hearing, hit that like and subscribe. Now we've laid out that the Na'vi have restarted their civilization and reinforced it with how there are no ruins or anything like that. Now let's talk about the human parallel, right? Because look at humans in Avatar. Very hyper-industrialized, resource-hungry, disconnected, dying. And if it doesn't sound familiar, I know it does. Because it's the exact path most advanced civilizations will take. Grow, expand, consume, collapse. So what if the Na'vi already went through that and chose a different ending, is my point of this theory, right? They've already understood what technology does. They've already understood what advancing too fast or unnecessarily does, right? And that takes me into the next thing, the cost of advancement. Because we all know technology solves problems, right? But we also all know at the same time, it creates bigger ones, way bigger ones, right? Like pollution, there's war, dependency, loss of identity, crazy motherfuckers. The Na'vi showed none of that. No overpopulation, no scarcity, no internal conflict at scale. That's not a coincidence either. Because again, there's no such thing as coincidence. That's optimization. They went through, again, grow, expand, consume, and collapse. So you just got to stop and think when you're watching this movie, why would the Na'vi want to invite that mentality and that routine back into their space when A, they've already been through it, and B, they know you can't do the same thing with what you know about it. We can't break buildings down and put it back in as something and reuse it like that. So it's only going to get used for malicious intent. Now, as far as the Na'vi restarting their civilization, let's talk about memory through trees. The tree of souls, right? The tree of voices. They're not just sacred, they're archives. Pretty much like our cloud. All the voices of our ancestors live in that tree is exactly what they say. That's not a metaphor, that's data storage. The Na'vi didn't lose their past, they just uploaded it. Keep that in mind. So again, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is a primitive thing with a complex concept to it. Crazy. Now, let's talk about Jake as the outsider. Jake Sully, he enters as a human. Disconnected, very confused. He has to learn everything. But notice how quickly he adapts because the system is intuitive. It's designed to be used, almost like it was built with accessibility in mind, right? My point of saying that is if there's a 0% chance that this world evolved from technology before, then if you're not Na'vi, you can't just learn this shit. Like you can't just pick this up. You can't just be there and just adapt and now you're one of us and there wouldn't be this type of, oh, we can just transfer you from human to this. No, there's some level of accessibility, like going from Android to Apple or transferring your information from this bank to that bank. There's that level of accessibility that comes with technology. Is my point. Because if this was all strictly nature and this, that, and the third, it's set in stone. If you're not one of us, you're just not one of us. But there's that accessibility. Now, my favorite part, the theory in full. The Na'vi were once a highly advanced civilization, technological, industrial, maybe even spacefaring, right? But they reached a breaking point. Ecological collapse or total extinction even. So they made a choice. Instead of continuing down that path, they merged their technology with nature. They created Iwa, a planetary AI but biological, more bio than tech. They redesigned themselves to interface with it. They eliminated artificial systems, no machines, no cities, no excess, just strictly balance. What we see in Avatar isn't a primitive species. It's a civilization that already solved the problem of existence. They didn't fall behind. They stepped off the path entirely. And when humans arrive, they're not discovering Pandora. They're repeating the exact mistake the Na'vi already escaped, which takes me back to the point. Why would they want to invite that? So when you look at Pandora now, don't see a world that never changed. You got to see a world that changed so completely, it left no trace of what it used to be, which is the best version of true change and growth. Because the Na'vi didn't just survive. They made a choice most civilizations never get the chance to make. Not how to grow, but how to stop. To step away from endless expansion, to trade progress for balance, to turn everything they built into something that could last forever. And that's why there are no ruins, no broken cities, no forgotten machines, because they didn't leave their past behind. They transformed it into their future. Again, leveraging it, which makes the human invasion in Avatar feel a lot darker because it's not just exploitation, it's history repeating itself. It's a second chance about to be wasted. You know what I'm saying? And maybe the real question isn't, are the Na'vi primitive? It's how long before we wish we had done the same. And it's kind of crazy to even think about. So don't forget, next time you watch an Avatar, don't see him as less advanced. You got to see him as something else entirely. You know, it's really like people who looked at their own future and chose to survive instead of progress because, oh, I'll be dead in 50 years. So you know what? I'll just skew the entire system. I'll just, no, like that's some lame stuff because again, why are the Na'vi so simple? No, that's not the question. Why aren't we? You feel me? So that's my theory. You know, the Na'vi were so advanced, they decided to take a step back because with that level of intelligence came intelligence. They knew we need to stop or we won't ever be able to go. So if you rock with this theory, you rock with these in general, deep dives and breaking downs, and hit the like. If you want to see more, subscribe. You know I'm going to come with them. You know I'm going to find them. You know I'm going to get to them. You know how it go. You know how I do this. Keep your captions open and put in the comment section your favorite movie, your favorite theory, your favorite, and debunk it if you don't rock with it. Just don't say nothing crazy because the fan club gonna get on that head top. They gonna be on that ass. I ain't gonna lie. But again, keep the captions open and stay smooth.
Bye. You should subscribe.